Here we go, episode 155 of The Hardline. Michael Merlo, John Michael Masiri here with you a little later in the week, but definitely still an episode out there. We're going to do a little preview of the upcoming week as we have some games on Saturday. A huge football weekend in totality with the college football playoff, the first round of the inaugural 12-team playoff. So a lot to get to today. I don't think we're going to do a little college. We could mix it in at the end, but I don't think so. But either way, JM, before we start, how are you?
I am doing good, Mike. Having a nice day. It's very cold out there.
This is very cold to you?
Well, yesterday was worse. Yesterday was definitely worse. But still, I'm not liking it. I'm not liking the rain.
Yesterday was nice.
I'm not liking it. I'm not liking the sunset at 4:30, everything. Seasonal depression is a real thing.
It
I'm
is.
thinking about starting some sort of support group. You know, if you guys want to reach out to me and we could just talk about how we missed the summer all day long. But besides that, I'm doing well.
Get over it, please. This is gritty, okay?
Yeah,
this is gritty. This is gritty weather right here. People in Florida or California aren't dealing with this.
Because I'm sure you're on your boots on the ground every day in the conditions. You know, real
I'm
blue
not.
collar over here.
I'm not Mr. Blue Collar. I'm just saying, deal with the cold.
I don't want to deal with the cold. Why can't I just move to Florida?
Move to Florida.
I was saying this yesterday to a friend of ours. I was like, I can't believe that at one point in my life I had the opportunity to live in Florida for 4 years, college, and I decided to pass up on that opportunity.
You went to a great school, St. John's.
I did, but I just wish St. John's was in, Tampa, Florida.
You're part of the Johnnies.
I am part of the Johnnies, who, by the way, looking good.
Are they?
We're back.
Patino's got them back.
Patino's got him back. Big shout out to Lou Carnesecca, R.I.P. I think that put a little jolt in the team.
That helped
Lou,
out?
yeah. Namath next. Yeah.
Excuse me?
Yeah.
We're just going to drop that like that?
Joe Willie, love you, man. I've said it before. He's got to kick the bucket.
I do. I actually agree with you now. I think
he's got it.
They made a deal with the devil.
100%.
I feel the same way about the Mets, by the way, in 86. But they lost a key part of that team already. Rest in peace, Gary Carter. So,
right.
Yeah,
but like the Mets, like they just did like cocaine and stuff. I don't know. Did they make a deal with the devil?
Yeah, I think they made a deal with the devil to win that game.
Sure.
The game 6.
You heard that story about the Mets on the team playing with the...
Yes.
Yeah, that's a nice story.
There's a bunch of good guys there.
Good
Come
guys.
on,
Respectful men.
That's what they do.
Yeah.
Anyway, we could do like a whole podcast series on the 1986 Mets.
Literally.
There's
it wouldn't,
books.
Right. It wouldn't be encouraged to be listened to in like youth communities, but you could still do it.
Would you say we're encouraged to be listened to in youth communities?
I think we teeter on the line.
Okay.
We're like SpongeBob. Like we're like the show.
SpongeBob is
that
kids.
Like we'll make no, but SpongeBob's got a lot of stuff. When you're older, you watch it and you're like, whoa, like they said that and
really,
allowed that. Yeah, all the time.
Do I have to go back and watch SpongeBob?
There's sex jokes in SpongeBob. There's a lot of weird stuff in SpongeBob that you don't realize when you're a kid because you don't get the joke.
I watched SpongeBob my entire life.
Go back and watch. You'll see.
Maybe that's why I am the way I am.
Maybe it's sheltered from the outside world.
No,
you're living in fantasy land, Mike. You don't know what's going on in that show.
I gotta go back and watch.
I'm telling you, you're gonna be really surprised.
I feel like
I know people out there know what I'm talking about.
I feel like we're PG-13.
We are PG-13.
We're good.
We're
good kids. All right. Before we get started here, which, by the way, I got a great prediction. I said this to Jam on the phone before. I got a great prediction for the first topic we're going to bring up. But before we get to that, I just want to make sure that we thank you guys for all the support on social media. Please make sure you're liking and subscribing on YouTube, rating us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, leaving comments. We love that, and we thank you. JM, Michael Penix is the new starter in Atlanta. And they drafted him 8th overall. Everybody was surprised. This was after they paid Kirk Cousins all this money for 4 years, really a 2-year deal. But still, 4 years, $160 million. That's what's on the contract. And it was more than that, $180 million. And now Kirk Cousins heads to the bench for Michael Penix. JM, we've seen this whole season play out, right? With the Jets, with the Giants, where players that used to play for them go off, and the players that play for them now stink.
Yeah.
Michael Penix was could have been a target of the New York Giants. People till this day, I think, are going to question whether or not they should have taken him or not at number 6 overall instead of Neighbors. I think there's no doubt in my mind Michael Penix, 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, wins the game easy for Atlanta.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing that you're finding a way to make this about the Giants. But yeah,
well, they are playing them this week.
No, I understand that, but the to lead with that is crazy out of you.
Well, that's what it's gonna be.
But yeah, I could totally see that happening with Penix. Listen, we talked about this last week, and we were debating each other on if this would be the right move for the Falcons to make. I personally didn't think it was, just because of the situation with Kirk, and you're already gonna put the writing on the wall that this move wasn't the right move for you, and you have the distraction now of a rookie quarterback who's 24 years old. He'll be 25 next year. So, I mean, this is a guy we're talking about that in terms of age is should be like a 3-4 year NFL veteran at this point. Mm-hmm. So I'm honestly shocked. And I know a lot of people aren't that shocked because the Falcons have been playing some of their worst football. They finally snapped a 4-game losing streak the other night against the Raiders, but I mean, it was a disgusting game.
The worst football game of all time.
I will be completely upfront with you and with our viewers. I did not watch a single second of that football game. Completely disinterested. Like, I saw that slate and I was like, okay, yep, I'm good. No fantasy implications, nothing.
Well, I was at a friend's house who had big fantasy implications, so we watched a lot of the Vikings game, which I would have watched on my own.
Right.
I love Caleb, and I'm intrigued by Darnold and the Vikings.
You still love Caleb after
I will be Caleb Williams' biggest defender until the day he dies.
Okay. Till
the day I die, whoever dies first.
Right.
Yeah. We can talk about that later, possibly. But, yeah, that was the most disgusting football game of all time.
Yeah.
Awful. Mm-hmm. Awful. I can't believe the NFL can get away with that. Putting that game on prime time and probably getting 10 million people to watch it.
I think the NFL is, if they're not careful, and I know the NFL is very, they're king. They're king of all the sports. They kill it in the ratings. The Super Bowl is the biggest championship out there. They're doing okay. However, I think they need to start being a little more careful with their primetime games, and when they just want to do double headers and throw out this and do a Saturday night and a Thursday night, whatever. If you're consistently or more often than not going to start putting out poor quality football games in primetime, people are going to start losing interest a little bit in the primetime game. And I think the primetime game, I think this has already started. I think it's going to lose its significance.
I don't think it will, because I think people are just obsessed with football. I mean, again, we could check those numbers when they come out. I bet you 10 million people watch that Atlanta game, which is absolutely crazy.
I'm obsessed with football, and this year is the worst year personally, and I know we run a conflict because we usually record this podcast on Monday nights anyways, but I feel like I've watched so much less Monday and Thursday night football games this year than I ever have in the past. Because I just think they're it's like the amount of terrible quarterback play and just terrible play in general we've been getting in some of these primetime games, I don't even want to watch anymore.
Let me say this. Listen, I've been going through the motions a little bit the last few Sundays. I'll tell you that much.
Right.
Like last Sunday, I was not excited to watch football. This Sunday, I will be totally checked out, because if you go look at Sunday's slate, it's awful. Yeah. Awful. But I kind of feel the same. I think with the Monday and Thursday, I'll watch a Thursday night. I usually always watch Thursday night. Monday, I'm so tired out from Sunday. I'm like, unless this is a big game and we record, obviously, I'm like, I'm probably not watching, or it's on in the background.
Right, that's a great way to explain it. But I feel that that's happened way more often than usual this year. For an example, it's not the NFL's fault. I know they schedule these games in the beginning of the year, which, by the way, I think they should just start not scheduling primetime games past week 6 before the season starts. They should just flex everything in.
That would be a great idea.
Because why is Cowboys-Bengals scheduled for Monday Night Football? Wow, you look at that preseason, wow, that's going to be a great matchup. Those are probably two teams who are going to be, at the top of their divisions potentially. Maybe even, who knows, they could be in contention for the 1 seed in their respective conferences. And then you get to that game and you're like, oh, it's Cooper Rush and a losing Cowboys team against a 5-8, whatever they were.
Let me say this.
Joe Burrow Bengals team?
I don't think logistically it's possible for the Thursday night and Monday night game to always not be decided. Right. But the Sunday night game every week up until a certain point, maybe week 6, like you mentioned, maybe you can start rolling those out.
Yeah.
Sunday night. If you're already going to play on Monday and you're already going to play on Thursday, you're going to play.
Right.
I know they just started the flexes, actually. You could flex Thursday night a couple of games. And they've started that a little bit. I forget which game. Was it this week that got – I think this week got flexed into it.
This week might have gotten flex. Chargers,
Broncos
that might have
is a
gotten
flex.
But I just don't – like, if you could flex a game late in the year, I just think, why can't you flex all the games? You know what I mean? Like, if it was a problem in terms of ticket sales and whatnot,
it's a problem TV deal wise.
TV deal, sure, but then why does some they just allow certain flex spots? I guess
the network is usually like, I guess they're making deals,
but the networks could benefit from it. I mean, yeah, maybe they have deals with the teams, but they're if the Jets came to ESPN were like, hey, we'll give you X amount of money to put us on Monday Night Football, they're not just gonna be like, okay. They're gonna be like, no, you guys suck.
No, it's like CBS. Like, let's say for this week or next week they got flexed, right? We have the
right. They bid on the games.
Right, the network bid on the game.
Yeah.
So if Fox has, we were talking about in our group chat, which game got flexed? It was Falcons Washington next week.
Oh, right, for
to
Dolphins,
Sunday night.
Browns.
Right. So that game was supposed to be at 1:00.
Right.
There's Vikings Packers. If Fox has that game, Fox is like, hell no, I'm not giving this game up, and Fox has to approve it.
Right.
So, and I don't know what they get for flexing.
That's why I think that they shouldn't even have it in the first place, and then you could get a whole bidding war for these games between the networks.
That sounds really difficult to do.
That'd be great. That'd be stuffing the NFL's pockets.
It would be, but that's really difficult to do. We're just gonna sit here and do bidding. Imagine.
Yeah, come on.
That that could be midweek. That could be a midweek show. I would watch that.
Midweek bidding war.
I would watch that
every week.
We could also
like
be
the selection show.
Exactly.
They'd be telling you what games.
I would watch that for an hour on a Wednesday.
Should we
call somebody right now?
Yeah. Should we not let this information out there? Did we just develop a great idea that we could sell to the NFL?
That's not a. If this is how it works, I'm not 100% sure.
If there are any attorneys listening to this, please let us know.
I'm not exactly sure how it actually works in terms of who gets what games and how they bid on it.
That's all right. This is to your typical, like we're sitting at a bar conversation about football right now.
That is crazy if that's the case, if we could do that.
That would be fun.
I wonder if that's possible. I don't think scheduling-wise it's possible. I don't think it is because if I buy a game,
keeping the day. If you want to,
keeping the day, fine.
If you're keeping the day,
and it's just a night,
and I am fully in support. And I don't know if this is an unpopular opinion, but I've been saying this for a couple years now that Thursday Night Football should just be not a thing.
I like Thursday Night Football.
I don't like Thursday Night Football.
I like it.
I think it's just like a way of us being able to have our need for football fulfilled. But a lot of the time, it's kind of feels like a cheap primetime game. It has problems with the scheduling. Teams hate it. The players hate it. I feel like crappy football gets played a lot of the times because these teams are sore or don't have time to prepare.
Okay, what if we get we have a good matchup this week. We have Broncos, Chargers. What if you get a
Thursday night game last week?
Actually didn't watch a second of it.
Terrible.
I'm thankful I didn't have to.
Terrible football.
I don't know. I think you get like a 27-24 game tomorrow. I think we're feeling differently.
Sure. Oh, you think this is like a recency bias thing?
Yeah.
You think I just got a bad taste in my mouth from?
I also think you have a bad taste in your mouth because of the Jets, a little bit.
Because of prime time?
No, just in general with the season.
Sure. I won't.
Listen, I will agree. There have been terrible games. You bring up the prime time. The penalties in prime time have been awful. I mean, penalties in general have been awful, but the flags on prime time have been awful. There's been a lot bad with the NFL this year, but they're still king.
At least the NFL, we were sitting here in week 1, 2, 3, talking about how the offense around the league just was really down. And it seemed like the NFL this year was going to be this like crazy run-heavy style of season. And now you're looking, and we're heading into week 16, and there are multiple guys who are about to eclipse 4,000 yards. And you have a couple guys that might throw 40-plus touchdowns.
I do feel like the running game's back a little bit.
The running game is back for sure.
Not with what we thought.
But we didn't think, if you would have asked me at the beginning of the season, I didn't think we were going to see a single quarterback reach 40 touchdowns. And we might see multiple.
We're going to get a couple.
We might see Burrow. We might see Lamar. Baker. Goff might even get there.
Yeah. Darnold?
How many does Darnold have right
29, my guy, Darnold. I'll tell you what. This is an off camera because we're not all sports anymore. I think the NBA needs a big rule change. I don't know what it is.
They need to do something.
They need God and a big rule change. Silver's got to do something.
Their ratings are getting killed.
Because the NFL and like the NFL makes changes when they have to. Baseball just made a huge change, and it seemed to work the last couple of years.
Right.
Like, I don't know. You got to be different.
Yeah.
They need something.
You know what the NBA does every year? They just change their All-Star game format.
Yeah, it's huge.
And they're like, all right, we're good.
That's huge.
Yeah. But anyways,
back to Penix.
I was gonna say, holy crap, we went all over the place there. But
Penix, I'm shocked because I didn't get to say anything after the first point. I'm shocked too, because you know how high I was on the Falcons and their schedule and the year they were gonna have, and I thought Cousins was gonna have a big year off the Achilles. Obviously, that's not the case. He lost it, but I think Cousins is gonna go somewhere next year in a good situation. And I think he's going to just put up like those, kind of like what Wilson's doing this year.
Well, that's kind of what he's done his whole career, Kirk.
Kirk the last couple of years was better than Wilson this year.
Sure, but like he always seemed to be a guy where at the end of the season you looked at his numbers and you were like, wow, look at the year that Kirk Cousins had. Kind of like the same way we're going to look at Jared Goff this year. I don't know if Cousins ever played on an MVP level the way Goff is right now.
I think he did.
But yeah, and I think a lot of people, if I said MVP level with Goff, it's really because of his numbers. I don't know if I'd put him in the same stratosphere as guys like Burrow and Allen and Jackson. But anyways, it's really weird the way Kirk's play has gone this year. I mean, usually, like Aaron Rodgers, you expect a guy to come off an Achilles injury, and especially at that age, and you wonder, are they going to be able to, perform as well at all? And if they are, it's probably going to take a little bit to get into the flow of things. And that's what Aaron Rodgers did. I mean, the first half of the year for Rodgers, we were all sitting here saying that he's washed. And now these past couple of weeks, he's starting to get it going. And now the narrative's changing. And, he's playing some of the best football that he has in the last couple of years. But with Cousins, it's the complete opposite. I mean, he had a bad first game against the Steelers.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, all the red flags went up. And then he comes out and has a really nice stretch of games. They have that great 2-minute drill in Philadelphia to beat the Eagles. And we were like, wow, okay, Cousins and the Falcons have arrived. And then all of a sudden, this guy falls off a cliff, like a major cliff.
Yeah.
He's literally the worst quarterback in football the past 5 weeks. I don't know, Mike. It's really strange. I don't know what to attest it to, what could possibly be causing it. But it really seems more likely than not at this point that this might be a one-and-done situation in Atlanta for him.
Yeah, I mean, they have enough. Like, they'll be able to survive the hit next year if they're able to cut him, with the post, I think what Schefter tweeted today, a post-June designation. Listen, I think Cousins goes to the right situation and succeeds. I think a lot had to do with the injury, right, this year, of him not being able to get comfortable and play well. But I also think we underrated the system and the situation he was in with Minnesota. It turns out it was one of the 3 best, situations in the league. And look at what Darnold's doing. So I think we underestimated that a little bit. I still believed in Kirk, and I thought like mid-season Kirk when he was playing well, I'm like, all right, this is what we're going to get. Maybe he turns the ball over a little bit, but the coaching is definitely not the same. And this is a big fail here for Atlanta. Now we'll see if they can salvage anything, give their fans something to look forward to going into next year with Penix playing. But, Jam, they're also in a playoff race. If they win this week and the Buccaneers lose, guess who's in the lead in the NFC South? It's Atlanta. They beat them twice.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if I looked at the Buccaneir schedule, and I just think, the football gods are going to help out with this one. Like, we all would say that the Buccaneers are the deserving football team. They have the better quarterback right now. And who knows, they might even have the better coach. We were talking about it last week, Todd Bowles. This guy, all of a sudden, he seems like a pretty good head coach. But yeah, Mike, that's kind of disgusting. I'm just looking up here at the splits for Kirk Cousins in 2024. So you look at September and October, and for some reason they don't have it split up in like first half, second half. I'm not sure why.
Yeah.
But you look at September and October. He was 2-2 record with 4 touchdowns and 4 picks in September, right? Gets off to a pretty mediocre start, we would all say there. And then the month of October, he's 3-1. He throws 10 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, and he averages 310 yards per game.
Had the big game. That's the month he had the big game against Tampa at home?
Yep, big. That was when the Vikings offense, like Drake London's emerging, Darnell Mooney's having these great weeks, even Ray McLeod's contributing. You're like, wow. And Bijan seemed to finally be hitting his stride. They were finding a way to get him in the end zone. It really seemed like this team was starting to click. And then November comes, 1-2. And 701 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 picks. Kind of back to like, bleh, what are we doing? That's a 93 passer rating. And then December comes. I don't know if anybody remembers, Phillip Rivers was a quarterback who had a lot of criticism throughout his career. For once December came, he played like crap. And Kirk Cousins is making Phillip Rivers in December look like Patrick Mahomes in his prime because he's got 700. So in 3 games, he has the identical amount of passing yards that he did in November, 701. He's got 1 touchdown and 7 interceptions. That's a 57.7 passer rating. So he's been dreadful.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's really, really strange. And I would just love to know what the vibe inside of that building is.
You think Kirk plays next year?
Yeah. So with the money he's being paid, yeah.
And
you know these guys, like a guy like Kirk Cousins, he's a guy who's a lot throughout his career. He's had to overcome odds. He was a late round pick. He's bounced around teams. He's that kind of guy where he'll have motivation after this to be like, oh, you think I'm done? Watch this. We'll see if it works out for him.
A lot of places make sense with what you have to pay him, which is obviously the minimum.
Well, what do we think is going to happen? Do we think Atlanta would be the team to just release him and eat the cap, or do we think they would be stubborn and say we're going to trade him?
No, I think they're going to release him.
I don't think they'll really have a choice.
Yeah.
Because I think if the around the league, people know for a fact they don't want to start this guy, no NFL team's going to offer them a good package because they'll be like, no,
you bring him in to
we'll
compete.
hold out and you'll just drop him.
There's going to be a team that is sort of in limbo, right? Yeah. I mean, I heard this today from somewhere. Does San Francisco make sense? Right? You tell Purdy, we're not paying you. I mean, I know Purdy's another year, but it's like, hey, here's the guy that's going to replace you for a year or 2.
Right.
I don't know. It could get interesting with Kirk. And I'm excited to watch Penix play. Even against the Giants, I'm very excited to watch him play.
Right.
So we'll see what happens there.
I'm just brainstorming right now, thinking about any other potential destinations for Kirk Cousins next year. If I was a Browns fan, I mean,
I would bring him in.
One could dream.
I would bring him in.
Because it's cheap.
Because it's $1 million a year.
And then you could pretend that you're paying Kirk Cousins and Deshaun Watson like $30 million each to make yourself feel better.
Or you could say, hey, Kirk's my $40 million guy.
Right, yeah.
It's better than that.
Yeah.
But I also got another spot for you. Does Indianapolis make sense? If you don't want to give up just yet, you're going to give Richardson the offseason of work, and then you're going to give him the first month, and you're going to tell Cousins, listen, if this is not working, we're going to go to you.
I got an interesting spot for you.
Oh, God.
What about Miami? How can you sit there as the Miami Dolphins and you just had a tough loss to Houston that basically buried your odds for making the playoffs this season? You saw your season slip away because your quarterback, who every year you have to worry about, one bad hit and his head, he gets a concussion. Yeah, it could be career ending. It could be whatever. So why not bring in a Kirk Cousins, be a backup?
Well, they would love it, but he's not going to sign there.
How do we know that there will be a very robust market for Kirk Cousins to be a starter next year?
I think.
How do we know it won't be a Russell Wilson type of market?
The chance to start. The chance to start. You're not starting other than an injury in Miami. You could start easily on Cleveland.
How about New York Giants? How about
bring
him in for a year?
Sense.
You draft a young quarterback if you want to do the old model and let a guy sit.
Hey, by the way, I'd like that.
Right.
Because you got to develop. You got to, you can't just have crap quarterback play. The rest of the roster is trying to get better.
Right.
Before the quarterback. That's a great point.
But at the same time, I don't think Kirk would be interested in that. I think if he was ever going to be somewhere where he was in some sort of competition or had to worry about not being guaranteed the starting job, he'd rather it be with another veteran than having the duty to develop a quarterback.
Well, he's not developing the guy. If the Giants went to him and said, listen, we don't plan on starting Shador or Cam. We're not starting these guys this year.
Beck, right.
Beck, it's your job.
Yeah,
You think he says no? You're going to you're going to start. You're going to start.
Yeah, but these guys aren't stupid. He knows the minute his performance, especially in the market of New York.
So you would go to Cleveland or Indianapolis over that, where there's no guarantee, but there's a chance?
What about Tennessee? Why not go somewhere that, maybe it's not the best situation in terms of, but you're not going to just fall into a Super Bowl contender.
If they were going to win,
you would have plenty of playing time in Tennessee.
If they were closer to winning, I'd say yes.
Right.
But you're not, and you don't have like this situation like the Giants where you have this year layoff and because you have a quarterback and whatnot. They're not close.
Right. Where did Callahan come from?
Cincinnati.
And he's under the McVay tree?
I think Taylor is, so I would assume so.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of another team.
Yeah, right. Who knows?
The Colts make a lot of sense.
The Colts do make sense. Nowhere in the West. Well, you did mention the 49ers, but that's kind of a pipe dream.
He's always had an affinity
for New Orleans.
That's not bad.
Right?
That's not bad. I mean, I don't know who's playing quarterback there.
I'm not sure.
I got a notification.
Not the Raiders. Get the hell out.
I got a notification from Schefter the other day. It was yesterday. And it said, like, sources. And it was, like, Saints quarterback Derek Carr. Don't tweet it out, bro. I don't care what's going on with that team. I really don't.
Wow.
I hate the Saints. They're so irrelevant.
This is the second week in a row that you're jumping the gun on my hate club. You got this like unspoken. What? I'm not gonna say it, but that
the Saints.
That's just whatever.
All right.
Something about what you just mentioned is a lot
Schefter
to do with
what. They tweet about a lot of irrelevant crap at Schefter and Rappaport.
All right, fine. Yeah, all right, here we go.
It's so annoying.
Spoil my hate club.
It's so annoying.
We'll do hate club 20 minutes in. That's my hate club. I get a notification from 6 different people 3 separate times. Michael Penix named the starter. The Falcons drafted Michael Penix this offseason. They also signed Kirk Cousins. Like, oh, yeah, no shit. I didn't know that. Wow, really? The NFL Twitter bots of Adam Schefter and Ari Merlov. And
it's not even that, JM. Like,
Ian
I
Rappaport.
want to see that. I want to see Penix as the starter.
Official, Ian Rappaport.
I don't need
Classic
to see that Derek Carr has this injury. Like, don't put sources. Don't say anything that makes it seem important.
Yep.
Nobody cares if the starting quarterback for the 4-10 irrelevant New Orleans Saints is starting at quarterback. Nobody cares.
Oh, Ian Rappaport tweeted that Michael Penix was shopping in Costco when Kirk Cousins was benched.
I don't hate that. I don't hate that.
That you don't hate.
I don't hate that. No, that's interesting. I'm like, all right, I'm intrigued.
From the insiders, taking a look at the Titans and Browns QB scenario.
Well, that's your fault. That's your fault. I only have the newsbreakers notifications on and a couple of other people.
Ian Rappaport.
That was Rappaport?
Yeah, he's reposting. He's quoting things.
Yeah, Rappaport tweets a lot.
He's officially official. That's what he tweets all the time.
I love
something will get announced from a team. Will quote retweet it. Officially official.
I love when Rappaport tweets about the Mets though. That gets me going.
Oh yeah, there you go. Met boy gets a hard on. This guy's ridiculous.
There was one more other thing I wanted to bring up. Oh my god, what was it? Oh, like the other day, I get a tweet from Schefter or one of the idiots. I think they both ended up tweeting it. It was about KJ Osborne.
What?
KJ Osborne signed with somebody's practice squad or something like that.
For Christ's sake.
I don't care.
Yeah, enough.
I don't care.
You know what? That's why, and this is why I love MLB trade rumors. They're the ones in baseball who tweet stuff like that. Like, I'll get a notification today. Mets sign Alex Reyes to a minor league deal.
Which I think is actually false.
Sure. Maybe.
I don't think they signed Reyes. I'll check.
Okay, whatever. But like something like that. Like something that isn't newsworthy enough. But you know what? I'd like to know about it. Oh, cool. I didn't know that. What a nice little small deal. KJ Osborne should not be getting tweeted about.
By the big guys.
Yeah. Let's stick with the big guys.
You need a small guy for the NFL.
Yep.
That's what you
It's like Passan. He does a great job. He doesn't tweet too much, but when he tweets,
you know it's big.
You know something's going on.
Yeah.
Ian Rappaport, it could be he took his dog for a walk, or Patrick Mahomes is retiring. Like, you don't know what it's going to be.
Or a Mets thing.
Or a Mets
He
thing,
usually
right.
puts emojis or LGM or something
Right,
like that.
right.
So we know it's when it's Mets.
Right.
Yeah, that's great. I love that. I second your A club.
Thank you.
I love it.
But Penix, how much money were you putting on all of his overs on Sunday?
A lot.
A lot?
Okay. A lot.
I'm excited. I actually really liked him out of college. He's got a big arm, lefty,
You're a
which
Penix
is
guy?
interesting. I like Penix.
Yeah. I know. Listen.
Thank God he doesn't pronounce it as Penix.
That'd be really bad.
That'd be
really bad. Like as the draft process, got later last season, I was more what's the word I'm looking for? I was okay with the Giants drafting him if that was their selection. I didn't care about the age. The injuries obviously worried me. What? What?
Sorry, I just got a Twitter notification. Adam Schefter.
Oh, God.
This is another part of something we left out. This guy can't spell. Like, it's actually a problem. Will Levis, no semicolon, no space. Or sorry, Will Levis, colon, then no space. I still believes he can be the Titans franchise QB. And then there's a link. Can we spell? Especially when we're tweeting about Will Levis, breaking news.
Can you look at the replies, please?
If it's not deleted already, he deletes it like right away.
Anything funny?
Really just about the tweet. This guy said, and I still believe I will win the lottery.
My grandpa hit the lottery. A couple $100.
Really?
Yeah, a couple $100.
No. Oh, put the fries in the bag. This guy just said, I still believes he can be the Titans franchise QB. Sure, buddy. Adam, are you drinking again? Edit button. Great wording, Adam. Genius writing, Adam.
I love it. Oh,
Did
God.
Aaron lend you some ayahuasca? Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, it's good from Adam there. Good for him.
Shefty. Stay hot, bro.
But yeah, I think this is I think the way, and I said this before and I'll say it again, the way the Giants season has gone this year, like I think Penix is a big game. He
will.
And the Giants stink.
Did you see?
Oh, God.
Somebody was like, they retweeted somebody's tweet about like positive takeaways from the Giants game. And this guy was like, Brian Burns fought till the end. And then the guy retweeted it, and it was a banner, and it was like the Giants 2024 season. Brian Burns tried. Like, seriously. We're celebrating a guy trying in the fourth quarter.
Oh, God.
Come on.
I saw something on Twitter today, completely unrelated to this. It was the same thing that you just said, though. It was like somebody put the background of what Max Fried signed in this really nice room at Yankee Stadium, then what the Mets had Soto sign on.
Oh,
right.
Like, I saw that.
This Mets, Met table. And somebody goes, peep the difference. And then somebody goes, Yankees 2024 offseason. Yankees had a nicer room. I lost it. Anyway, let's get back on track.
Yeah.
Penix, for the Giants in all seriousness, I mean, I think we will look back in history and say, if this guy does have a good career, I think we'll go back in history and say, this is a guy the Giants could have had.
Yeah.
And especially if the quarterback the Giants bring in fails, we'll really look at it. But
right.
Shaden Dable should be gone by then, and I don't think it'll be.
And you do think, it's funny. It is a little bit of, and we somehow always find a way to talk about the Giants, but it's fun. It is a little bit of deja vu from 2019 and 2018. How 2018 was thought of that great quarterback class, and they decided to pass up, go with the skill position player and Saquon, and then the next year, in a weaker quarterback class, decided to draft a quarterback. However, I think the difference is, I don't know if this quarterback class is just nearly as bad as the other one. Like, I don't remember in 2019 seeing a quarterback that wasn't named Kyler Murray being projected as like a top 10 pick.
Right.
Besides maybe Haskins. But, like, Jones was nowhere near there. It was as the process went on. But as of right now, I mean, you have two guys in Ward and Sanders who are projected top 3 picks in the draft. And I think the Giants are going to have a higher pick than what they did have in 2019, but only time will tell. We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna have one of the 2 best quarterbacks of the draft.
Yeah.
So,
and I think a large part of it also is going to have to do with what do the Giants have in place for that quarterback, coaching, roster, general manager, all that stuff.
It's gonna be fascinating.
Plays a huge part in anything.
The Giants are gonna be a hot topic for when we do the offseason because again, when we talk about the quarterbacks and the draft and things like that, and they're gonna be at 1 or 2. I mean, I think they're gonna be 1. They're the worst team in football. So. We'll move on here to the MVP race, though, because I think me and JM disagree here. I think it's clear cut. I think the MVP right now is clear, and that's my guy. That's Joshy. Mm-hmm. The betting markets tell you the same thing. Now, I think it is a little crazy that he's like a minus 700 favorite.
That's absurd. Okay,
that I will say, because Lamar is having a fantastic season.
Yeah,
but I would still lean Josh Allen.
I don't. I think what's happening right now is we're starting to get a little bit of the voter fatigue. Mm-hmm. I think we're starting to dig into the aura a little too much because I will not lie. Like Josh Allen is playing unbelievable football lately, and he has been all season long. But let's also remember that Lamar Jackson has also been playing amazing football all season long, and he's doing things like you don't see a 120 passer rating very often. That is something that is really, really impressive out of Lamar Jackson, and it's. I just think we're applying excuses to Josh Allen that we're not applying to Lamar Jackson. When you talk about Allen losing Diggs and not having that alpha number 1 receiver for most of the year, they traded for Cooper, but with his age and blah blah blah, but. I mean, I think you look at that Ravens receiving room, I don't think anybody's really taken aback. I think the main thing that obviously is helping Lamar Jackson this year is Derrick Henry.
Yes, but I think there were times during the season, okay, where you could say whether this matters to you or not. There were times throughout this season I could say, wow, I don't know who the best player on the field is. Is it Derrick or is it Lamar?
Yeah, but I mean, you're talking about, Derrick Henry at the end of his career might go down as like a top 10 running back in NFL history. But we're not talking about some slouch.
But my point is, you never said that about Allen. Allen is the best player on the field no matter what.
Yeah.
I think, and listen, Henry has slowed down a little bit at the end of the season, and Lamar has had to pick up that slack, and you see the last couple of weeks, they've really gone on. Well, I mean, they lost to Philly then crushed the Giants. But you've kind of seen their offensive productivity go down just a little bit as Henry slowed down. But Lamar hasn't.
Sure. I understand if you want to say, Allen does a lot of the work by himself and, he does it all. But, I mean, numbers don't lie. Like, Lamar Jackson contributes for more yardage. He's got more total yards than Josh Allen does. He's got more total touchdowns than he does. He's turned the ball over less. Like, I'm just going to objectively look at this. I think one of the big things that has to do with it also is their records. I think the fact that, Lamar isn't winning his division right now. The Ravens are still a very good football team. They're 9-5, and I think they're a team that not a lot of people are going to want to play in the playoffs.
They can win the division, by the way.
They can win the
division.
This
week. You're right back into it.
They could totally win the division. Josh Allen has been playing unbelievable football, and honestly, I was kind of surprised after last week. I was like, oh, Josh Allen's probably going to be my personal front runner for the MVP after watching the performance he put on against the Lions, and I was surprised to see his numbers. His numbers from the beginning of the year, I think, are what he's still trying to make up for. And I'm sorry, I'm a big numbers guy. I think, a lot of the time we get distracted in eye candy and in narrative sometimes, and there's only one thing that you can't skew, and it's statistics. And Lamar Jackson statistically is the best player, or at least quarterback, in the NFL this year. He's got the man has 34 touchdowns and 3 interceptions.
When you look at the numbers, like I have it up here right now, it is incredibly impressive.
And I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt as a numbers person that I'm not including Joe Burrow in this conversation because I understand it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to give a guy who is not even in the playoff picture an MVP award.
You'd have to be having a incredibly impressive.
Which, by the way, I think if you look at the Cincinnati Bengals, that team would be in competition for the number 1 pick right now if they didn't have Joe Burrow playing quarterback for them. And that's just been an unbelievably bizarre season for them, and they'll be right back in it next year. I have no doubt in that, depending on what happens with the Chase situation. But that's a conversation for another day. Yeah, dude. Like I said, I can't ignore these numbers. And Lamar last year, he won an MVP for the second time in his career. And it's bizarre because last year I disagreed that he should be the MVP, but it was sort of a weaker year statistically. And, that win over San Francisco in primetime last year was what really drove it. And the Ravens having the great season that they did, being the number 1 seed in the AFC.
It was a very weak. Yeah, I did not think he should have won.
Yeah, but this year, I numbers are back up. There's really great seasons going on right now, and this is by far the best year of Lamar's career. And it'd be crazy to think of the 3 best years of his career if the best one was the only one that didn't receive an MVP award.
Josh, it kind of feels like, and as wrong as this sounds, it kind of just feels like this is what the narrative is going to be.
This feels, I don't want to exactly compare it to this, but I get the same vibe from the Jokic to Embiid MVP situation, where Jokic won it for 2 years in a row, and Embiid was just playing at such a great level, and you were like, all right, at some point, like this guy, like I can't believe he doesn't have an MVP award yet. Yeah. And I was like, you know what? He deserves it this year. That's the kind of vibe I'm getting from Josh Allen right now. Like, yeah, if it's still up for debate. I think if you asked in the NBA, Jokic versus Embiid, I think the majority of people, the strong majority, would say Jokic. I think it's a little more up for debate if you said Allen or Lamar. You might be split down the middle 50-50 or even in favor of Allen. But I do think that that's coming into play here that, okay, Lamar had his MVPs and Allen's been such a great quarterback for so long in this league now. He deserves one. I think that's what's playing into it.
I also do think, again, like kind of from the before conversation of Allen is doing it more on his own than Lamar is. I think that has something to do with it. With the narrative of this MVP season.
I also think it's the style in which they play that makes us think that, though. Because like I said, the numbers don't exactly say what you're saying. But a lot of the time, yes, Josh Allen is making these crazy highlight plays, and maybe the Bills are playing a different style of offense than what the Ravens have played. And honestly, I also haven't watched a ton of Ravens football recently because they haven't really been in the spotlight. I think that also has to do with it. The Bills have been playing a lot of games, 425, prime time, big high-scoring games, things that are catching people's attention. I know it was the Giants, but last week, you didn't see much of Lamar Jackson. He threw for 5 touchdowns. But come on, those games, what are you going to do? Erase that from?
No, of course not. It was,
but really, I think a lot of it gets from you get tired of a guy, even with Jaden Daniels. We anointed him as the rookie of the year in the beginning of the season. And I think a lot of people over the past couple of weeks have sort of been like that. That's kind of the old. That's old. We're thinking about maybe Bo Nix has a shot. Maybe Brock Bowers has a shot. Which Brock Bowers should be the offensive rookie of the year. Anyways.
I agree with that.
But same thing with the Lions, right? Up until even before their loss on Sunday, I think a lot of people, they were riding high. They were untouchable for so long, and we were just used to them being this great team that they kind of got stale on us. And then we started up conversations of the Eagles are better than them, and maybe they're not this great team that we think they are, because it's like boredom. You just get bored of it, and I think that's what's going on with
You definitely get some fatigue, and listen, I think a lot of things have happened, and we're going to talk about the Lions and the top of the NFC coming up. But, yeah, I feel like there's something around this season for the Bills. And maybe it is the loss of the players. That's why I think he's going to be the MVP. I think the voters, I think you're right. It's just voter fatigue at this point.
Sure. Well, I definitely agree that looking at previous Buffalo Bills seasons and Josh Allen's seasons, that this one probably has the best feel to it, if for a lack of a better term. Like I definitely think that out of all the Bills teams and the Josh Allen seasons we've watched, we've been like, wow, this is the strongest maybe we felt about their team and about Allen.
Is Saquon at all in consideration?
Saquon's not in consideration. No. Done.
What would he need to do in the next 2 weeks?
Saquon would need to like rip off multiple 200-yard games and get back in contention of breaking the single season record.
Is he not on pace to do that anymore?
He's not on pace. Especially after last week, he's not on pace.
Okay.
But I mean, me and Joe debated it. If you're going to give the award to a running back, it's going to have to be a very special season. And I mean, right now, let's see. Let me whip out the calculator real quick. We have...
You can't do that math in your head?
No. We have 120.6 yards per game times 17, 2,050. Did he miss any games? Well, he's got 3 more games left. Okay. So what is the single season record? 2109, I want to say Eric Dickerson said it.
So he is on pace.
He's like 50 yards off the pace, actually. Let's see. 2,105 is the record set by Eric Dickerson in 1984. So he's got a shot. He does have a shot, but still.
No MVP.
If you have Lamar Jackson, I know because I'm going to use him because I think he is the MVP. If he's got 42 touchdowns and 4 interceptions at the end of the season, I think that he deserves the MVP over Saquon with the breaking the rushing record.
You asked me earlier in the week to send me my top 5.
Yeah.
And I don't think you liked one of the selections. I had Darnold at 4.
Yeah, which is nuts.
My top 5 was Allen, Lamar, Saquon, Darnold, Goff. Mm-hmm. Jay didn't like the Darnold part.
Don't
Where does Darnold fall? I feel like
Darnold falls out of the top 5.
So what's your top 5? Oh, you have Burrow on the list.
I'd have
Lamar,
Allen, Saquon, Burrow, Goff.
Yeah, I put Darnold.
Yeah,
at 11 and 2. You know, we always argue about this. It's like MVP, most valuable player. It's never the most valuable player, right? It's always the best player. It's the best offensive player most of the time. But if we just gave it to the best offensive player here, like you could argue it's Burrow.
Right. Well, hold on. That's why I think it's such a weird game to play, because that's why I think the offensive player of the year exists for guys who are, okay, maybe you weren't the most valuable player because you don't play as much of a valuable position, but you were the best player, statistically this year. Like a Saquon Barkley, if he breaks the record and still doesn't win the MVP, he totally deserves to be the offensive player of the year. But with Burrow, we're talking about value here. Whoever said that it needs to be most valuable player on a winning team? Because how many times do you remember, and we're comparing to other sports a lot today, but it's good, Mike Trout with the Angels argument where they won 75 games, and Mike Trout was by far the best had the best statistical season out of anybody in the American League. And people would say but the Angels were terrible this year. But you heard the argument of, okay, but the Angels won 75 games this year. If they didn't have Mike Trout, they'd probably be the worst team in baseball. Yeah. And it's sort of the same thing, like I said a couple minutes ago, that sure, maybe Cincinnati at the end of the year might finish out 8-9, 9-8, but without Joe Burrow, they might be a 3-14 football team. Who's to say that most valuable means they have to be the most valuable for a winning team? It's just it's a very gray area argument to make.
Where's Baker? Baker's having a great year.
Baker deserves to be discussed.
32 touchdowns, 14 picks.
Yeah.
He's having a great year.
And you know what's funny about those numbers? That's what we're used to seeing out of Josh Allen, by not including the rushing statistics. Right. That's not a knock on Allen. That's a praise to Mayfield. I mean, he's having
Allen's
great
done
season.
A good job protecting the football.
Yep.
He's done a great job protecting, and that's it's different for him.
Yep.
He had 18 picks last year.
Yep.
This is big.
Huge.
There we go. There's the MVPs.
But no Darnold. No Darnold.
Yeah, maybe Darnold's off the list.
Yeah.
I feel like
Respect
Baker
to
is
Sam.
more valuable than Darnold.
100%.
So Darnold will be 4 on my list now. After review. You did send this to me on Monday. You asked me for this
4?
on Monday.
I thought he was 4.
Yeah, Darnold's off. Baker's 4.
Baker's 4.
And Burrow's 5. Goff's off.
Okay.
Baker more valuable than Goff.
I won't hate.
Baker on that team, you'd be getting the same, maybe more production. How about that? That's some Goff hate for you.
That is Goff hate.
We're gonna do more Goff hate right here.
You chill with the Goff hate.
We're about to handle the Lions, okay? Because we were told
Chill
this
with
team
Chill with the we.
was like on this pedestal as we talked about before. You like that pedestal like that up high?
That's good demonstration. Nice charades.
Listen, everybody's beatable. Most teams are beatable, I should say. And listen, it's a lot of injuries defensively with this Lions team. But when we talk about MVP, we're talking about guys that elevate others. We're talking about guys that elevate other, mid-level players. Jared Goff is not doing that. He has never done that. Goff's a nice player. I like him. He works in this system. But I do not think he has a chance at MVP. I think when we look at the other quarterbacks in the NFC, they're a little similar. But the roster here for the Lions is so depleted defensively, this team will not be representing the NFC in the Super Bowl. I will guarantee it. I like the other 2 top teams. I like the other 3 top teams more than I like the Lions right now in the NFC.
Very, very, very strong opinions out of you there. Yeah, there's no doubting that the Lions losing McNeil now on top of Hutchinson, on top of Rodriguez. They've had a million injuries on defense. But the positive side of this is that offense is still intact. And we know the old cliche that, defense wins championships, but it doesn't say anything about, offense can't get you to the championship. That's a little loophole in the system. So,
okay.
I would like to sit here and say the sky is falling for the Lions and that defense isn't going to be able to hold up. And honestly, I don't think that defense will be able to sustain, a high level of play throughout the postseason. But I think with a home field advantage still in the cards for the Lions and that offense being as good as it is, even without Montgomery here, another big injury, but I think your goal line change of pace running back in Montgomery, a guy who was I don't know if he ever got to 1,000. If he got to 1,000 yet, no, he wasn't. But he was on his way to maybe break 1,000 yards this year. You still have Jahmyr Gibbs, and I'm sure whatever running back they slot in there will be able to play a role there. And this offense is still going to be dangerous. That offensive line, most importantly, is still intact. So I can't sit here and tell you that, if Philadelphia comes into Detroit in an NFC Championship game, that I'm going to be confident that the Eagles are going to, dominate them or just win the game in general, because I think the Eagles have also shown a lot of flaws.
The Eagles have showed flaws. I think the Eagles match up well with that team. I think the Eagles match up, defensively, the Eagles have been so good this season. They match up well against them. I think offensively, the Eagles are going to be able to do whatever they want. And you talk about the home field advantage, it's huge. That home field advantage is so big for the Lions because we know that Goff is a different quarterback in the outdoors. But I'll tell you this. Let me kind of spin this the other way for the Eagles. Imagine that Eagles offense indoors. Yeah, It's going to be tough to play, loud environment. That Eagles offense indoors could be, that could work for them in their passing game, which, was heavily criticized by their own players. And we kind of thought the Eagles do everything the wrong way. The Eagles are literally everything you don't want off the field. Yeah. And yet they win.
And they have a great, But that's why I think that ultimately that's going to be their demise.
You think that crumbles them?
Yeah.
Julian Edelman said that today.
Yeah. My bold prediction for the Eagles is they're not going to make the championship game.
Wow. Not a believer in the Birds.
Nope.
There's a chance they're the 1 seed. There's a chance they're the 1 seed.
What is the NFC playoff bracket right now? Do you know off the top of your head?
I can go by the standings here.
NFC playoff bracket. Because I'm trying to imagine who that second... Oh, and my computer just died.
There we go. Don't worry. Hopefully mine loads here.
We're on the same website anyways.
Here we go.
So if, right now the Eagles are sitting at the 2 seed. They've got, hold on, you scroll too far.
So right now they would have the 7th seed. So the 7th seed right now would be the Commandos.
Right. So I think they'll take care of business that game. Then, let's say Green Bay beats Tampa Bay.
Right.
Right. And then the Rams play who? Who's the Rams play the Vikings? Okay.
Yeah.
So let's say
great game.
Let's say Green Bay beats Tampa Bay. The Rams beat
the Vikings.
And this is a lot to keep.
So
track
this would
of
be
that would mean
Lions and the Packers and the Eagles and the Rams.
And the Eagles and the Rams.
Or Eagles Vikings.
Or Eagles Vikings. Right. Let's say
one.
Eagles Vikings because I think the Vikings could beat. They're impressing me recently. I might flip my opinion on them. I would not be surprised at all to see the Vikings win that game.
And I wouldn't be surprised if the Packers won that game.
Yeah. Oh, in Detroit. Sure. I think it's pretty, out of those 4 teams, Eagles, Vikings, Lions, Packers, and we've kept them in that tier for a while now of teams that we could see making it far in the NFC.
Okay.
I think.
What are the chances right now? Because I think I would lean one way, actually. I'm going to give you could put your money on the Lions and Eagles.
Griffin County to the Mets, by the way, huge. 1 year, $4 million.
Pitching lab.
Yeah.
David Stearns. All right, I could give you odds on Lions Eagles to make the playoffs, or Packers Vikings to make the Super Bowl. Excuse me. Who are you taking?
Lions, Eagle. Wait, so a package of the two?
Yeah, it's like one of the two.
Right, to make the Super Bowl?
Or Packers, Vikings. Or Lions, Eagles. That's tough. That's a good question.
That's a really good question.
That's tough. It's tougher than you think. I like the Vikes. I don't like the Vikings going to Philly, though.
So I don't know. Like
Philly
I don't want to get
game.
too cute here. I know I don't. I'm not as high on the Eagles as you are.
Yeah, I am high on the Eagles.
And I like Green Bay. I mean, I like the defense looks good. Defense looks really good. I like the quarterback. I like the coach. And they have the experience from last year's playoffs. The Vikings are a team that's growing on me. They've got a great coach. They've been playing really good football. And I especially will have an answer for you, but that's not how betting works. If after the Vikings and Lions matchup, which is going to be really interesting.
That's week 18. So
I would go with Vikings and Packers.
Yeah, I think the Eagles are just. I think the Eagles defensively is where you got me. Is where I wouldn't pick against them. So I would still stick with Lions Eagles, but it's close.
I just could expect things to go sour there fast on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah, but I think, you know what? Last week they showed you, hey, we could still throw the football, right? We can still throw it, and they could go back to their bread and butter this week, and they'll run the football right down your throat. They could do a mixture of both. I'm not the biggest Hurts guy. I'm really not.
Neither.
And I don't think they're going to win the Super Bowl, but I think they can get there. I definitely.
But
think they can get
the
there.
odd thing with the Packers is they are playing really well, but they haven't been able to beat one of these top tier teams. That's all their losses.
Right. Lost to the Eagles.
They lost to the Lions twice, and they lost to the Vikings.
Those are their 4 losses.
Those 3 teams we're talking about.
And they play the Vikings one more time.
Yeah. But
that'll be a fascinating game.
Regular season is regular season.
That will be an absolutely fascinating game.
Yeah.
In Minnesota.
The NFC playoff picture to me is so much more interesting, and I said this last week. It's so much more interesting than the AFC.
You know, yesterday, my last Tuesday was my last class ever, and it's a sports podcasting class. And for one of our final things we did, it was a debate. And then, like, you get, like, a minute to debate something on a random topic, and then you move on to the next round, right? Mm-hmm. Kind of like childish, but it's a lot of fun.
Right.
And our professor's a guy in the business. He's really cool. So my question was, and I was going second, was who should be the favorite in the AFC? And you know how much I love the Bills, right? And the kid that I was going up against went first, and he went the Bills side. So I'm like, I'm going to play devil's advocate.
Right.
I'm going to go Chiefs. And I actually came up with this point on the fly, like what I'm going to say for the Chiefs.
And you were like, oh, that's actually a good point.
I believe it now. I believe it. Like,
well, what was the point? Let's hear it.
The Chiefs, how are you going to bet against the team that has gone to 2 straight Super Bowls and won them a team that knows how to win late in games. I said to him, he said the Chiefs are getting lucky late in games. I go, you create your own luck. And they create their own luck late in games because they are so comfortable in close games late in the fourth quarter. And that is true. And they have the best quarterback in, I still think Mahomes is the best. I mean, he's the best quarterback I've ever seen. You have Andy Reid, the best coach in the league.
Okay. Let me put a pin in that real quick because you just reminded me. I said this the other day on Sunday. Not only do I not agree with that Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback I've ever seen. I think from the eye test only, I think Josh Allen deserves to be put ahead of Patrick Mahomes in terms of the best quarterbacks we've ever seen.
Josh Allen?
And I know, like, I'm was just arguing he's not the MVP. We're talking numbers there. But in terms of talent on the field, I've never seen Patrick Mahomes been able to do as many different things the way Josh Allen is able to do that at such an elite level. And the other thing is, like, I don't think people realize how ridiculously accurate Allen is now.
Yeah.
I mean, he is.
No, he is.
The amount of throws this guy makes where he perfectly hits people in stride.
And that was a problem coming out of college.
Yeah.
You know who I like to compare Lamar to? We're really all over the place this week.
Yeah.
You know who I like to compare Lamar to? Curry. Because Curry changed the game. Now, I don't think the game is going to change for, because it's impossible to replicate his athleticism.
Right.
But he's different.
Yeah.
He's just different.
Yep.
I mean, Curry is the best still. Nobody's better than Curry at shooting the three.
Right.
He was the first and he's the best.
Right.
And I think Lamar is he's that.
He is.
He's just different.
No, he totally is.
Now, Curry backed it up with championship. We'll see if Lamar can do the same thing.
Right. Yeah. I mean, Lamar also, Curry ended up having one of the best teams of all time around him.
Yeah. True.
But, he was the main focal part of that team and that won 73 games and ended up losing. But they won that first ring without Durant.
Yep.
Anyways, that's what I was going to say is that the difference is here, like, people hear that, what I just said about Josh Allen, like, what the Patrick Mahomes, this guy's got 3 Super Bowls already, this and that. Like, yeah, I know all of that. But I'm not talking about their ability to win on the field. And we know that, no disrespect to Patrick Mahomes, he's an unbelievably talented quarterback. And not a lot of quarterbacks would be able to win the way he does. He's very talented. But we know that, Andy Reid's also a great coach. They've had some really good defenses over the years. Josh Allen, from a talent perspective, I think is a more talented quarterback than Patrick Mahomes.
Today, I think he is.
Yeah.
I don't think we could say this in 2022 when he was the MVP. I don't think you're saying this in 2023. So, again, I think Mahomes needs a season next year where he shuts everybody up.
Right. By the way.
Can he do that for us, please? Because, I like to see greatness. I want to be able to say I saw the best quarterback ever play in his full prime years. Yeah, we got to see Brady, okay. But, I want to be able to say that.
Right.
I do. So, please, give us an FU season next year, Patrick Mahomes. Can we have that?
All right, so back to your point with the Chiefs. I don't know. Yeah, I don't think you're very familiar with some of the Marvel movies, right?
Oh, come on, please.
Okay.
I don't got time for that.
So people out there that are familiar with it, there's, the Avengers, right? That's the collection of all the best superheroes.
All the superheroes,
I
know that.
Okay,
yeah. Right.
So in Avengers: Infinity War, it's the second to last Avengers movie from the most recent MCU.
All right.
And they're fighting the bad guy Thanos, and Iron Man looks at Doctor Strange, who is capable of seeing the future, and he says to Doctor Strange, how do we beat this guy? And Doctor Strange said, out of the 14 million possibilities, there's only one correct way it needs to go, but he can't tell anybody about it or else it won't happen. So as they are dying to Thanos, he looks at Doctor Strange and he gives them the signal of only one way. And Thanos defeats them. He snaps his fingers. Half the population dies, right? In the next episode, or the next movie, they find a way to bring the people back, and they ultimately defeat Thanos, killing him and ending his reign of terror.
I think I saw Endgame.
Yeah, in Endgame, correct. Very good. That is my point.
Where are we going here?
As to why I am going to bet against the Chiefs to make it back this year, because I talked to Doctor Strange. And last year, it seemed, when I was hating on the Chiefs and saying they can't do it again, and they ended up doing it again. And I sat there and I thought, you know what? Why did I do that? The Chiefs, they're the Chiefs. They're gonna find a way to get it done.
You're gonna lose
No.
again, brother. You're
There's
gonna lose
one.
again.
There's one way it gets done, and this year is endgame, and it's when
It's Joshy
the
Poo.
Kansas City Chiefs get bounced out in the AFC playoffs.
Is it Joshy
It
Poo
is
that
going
does
to
it?
be Joshy Poo.
You know what? I swear to God, you call me a fraud, whatever. My grandpa likes the Bills very, casually. He doesn't know what's going on, but he likes the Bills. I'm sitting there rooting for the Bills every week, like they're my team. So I hope that's the case. I
Sure.
hope Buffalo does it.
You're like me with the Eagles a couple years ago.
Whoa. Don't associate yourself with them, please.
Now I don't like them. Eagles and
I
wins.
guess no, because I always like have a side thing for the Bills. The Bills are my side piece. You know what I mean?
Right. It's crazy.
The Bills are my side
Yeah.
piece. I am rooting for them though. I hope they win it, but I don't. You know what? I talked myself into this thing with the Chiefs, and it's like I don't think it's going to happen. I
want the
think
Ravens to throw their hat in the ring.
I think it would be really funny if the Chiefs won again. Like hysterical.
You know what would actually be like box office amazing AFC Championship game? Ravens Bills would be awesome.
Nah, I need the Chiefs.
One of these guys gets
I need the
in,
Chiefs in
Lamar
there.
and Allen.
I need the Chiefs in there. I need to see. We need to see them go down in Arrowhead again. I mean,
Sure.
It needs to be Allen.
Sure.
It needs to be Allen.
Dude, but I don't know how the seedings are looking right now, but find a way to get that done in the divisional, which I don't think is possible.
It's 1-2. They're 1-2.
Yeah. But the Ravens.
But if the Ravens win the next,
Ravens.
No, the Ravens can't. The Ravens going to be done. If the Bills win this week, they're going to lock up the 2.
No, but I'm saying the Ravens could be able to take out the
Bills
Chiefs.
in the second round.
The Chiefs.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm assuming the Ravens are winning this week.
If the Steelers and Bills win first round, and the Ravens win first round, then it would be Ravens Chiefs second round.
Yeah.
and
See,
Bills, Steelers.
I was assuming the Ravens are the 3.
Okay.
I think the Ravens are going to win. The
But that would
division.
be a great game also. Ravens
Bills in the second
Bills.
round.
Yeah.
That would suck for the Bills.
Yeah.
Imagine
Please,
that.
I don't want to watch the Texans in the playoffs. I don't think anybody does.
They're going to get crushed.
They're gonna get killed.
They get killed. All right, Jam. I think that's good. We
Yeah.
really went all over. We were
We
like
did.
late on the topics today. We didn't have that much, and we
did the
filled an
weave.
hour
We
and
did the
7
weave.
minutes. We were everywhere
Yep.
today, but we got it done. Thank you so much for listening and watching. If you're still here, we will. Are we gonna have an episode next week? What's the
I'm
deal
not
with
sure.
that?
It's the
Monday
It's
is
the
the-
holiday season. I don't know.
Monday's the 23rd.
Monday
Do we
is
want to
the 23rd.
record the 23rd?
Well, not sure. We'll decide. We'll see what schedules are looking like.
Yeah, we'll see what the schedules are looking like. We appreciate the support, and if we don't see you, Merry Christmas.